Now this illustration deals with the grounding electrode connections for a concrete encased electrode. In accordance with NEC 250.68C3. Now notice these connections do not have to be accessible or readily accessible. They can be completely covered up with concrete, encased in concrete and so forth. But now notice, before we get into talking about this in greater detail, let's look at the notes first. Note 1 says, bar stubbed up shall not be subject to corrosion. And of course, that rule is in 250.68, C as in car 3, little b. And notice that we can stub up. As you see in the illustration to the left, we have the concrete encased bus bars, not bus bars, excuse me, but we would have reinforcing rods, and they'd be a 1/2 inch in diameter or greater, 20 foot in length, or spliced together to create 20 foot, or maybe completely encircle the building. But notice we can turn up. But now you see that connection where the turned up reinforcing rod is connected to the rod that goes down and is bonded into the concrete encased electrodes in the toward the bottom of the concrete encasement. That cannot be subject to corrosion conditions, is in note 1. That's what that's talking about. Or we could just use a number 4 strip conductor by note 2. It says 4 AWG copper at least 20 foot in length in the foundation, stripped, can be turned up, stubbed out, and that's still considered a concrete encased electrode. And then you can see where the connection is made is the grounding electrode conductor that is routed to the service equipment and connected to the grounded bar that's bonded to the enclosure, and in this case has the grounded neutral conductor connected to it, and a supply side bonding jumper bonding the raceway that encloses the service conductors into that main bonding bar and jumper that you see there, 250.28D as in dog 1. But notice it's a number 4 grounding electrode conductor routed from the service equipment where it connects to the concrete encased electrode number 4. So the stub up rule now has been completely eliminated in the 2017 and 2020 edition of the NEC. So the connection you see now where it's stubbed up above the concrete, they're accessible. They're accessible, you can get to them there, see in the illustration. But the ones that, if it should be made in the foundation where your rebar is, then it would not be accessible. And 250.68, when you start looking at it, has an exception in there that says, no, you wouldn't have to make those connections accessible. But now this illustration 16-89B illustrates the grounding electrode connections where they're above the concrete encasement electrode or within the concrete encased electrode is illustrated in this illustration.